Old World Japan, Legends of the Land of the Gods by Frank Old World Japan. Bro, it's like straight fire. Produced by Sean Pinder, Sam Ool, and some online dog. Old World Japan, Legends of the Land of the Gods told by Rinder with illustrations by T.H. Robinson. The spirit of Japan is hella real, like the scent of wild cherry blossoms in the morning. London, George Allen Hun 56, Charing Cross, Road 1895, Old World Japan illustration. Publisher's device printed by Ballantine Hanson Co. At the Ballantine Press Loki, history and mythology are like super intertwined in Japanese life and thought fam. It's only recently that scholars have been able to separate fact from fable, but for real, it's hella hard. The Kojiki and Nihongi records, compiled way back in the 8th century, are like our main sources for understanding this whole god period thing. The opening legend is all about Izanagi's wild ride to Hades, his fight with demons, and the birth of some major Shinto deities. And Tepebi, it's clear that China had a major influence on Japan's culture. I mean, even in ancient texts like Kojiki and Nihongi, you can find clues about this Chinese-Japanese connection. Take Amaterasu's necklace, for example, the curved jewels are straight out of China, but nowhere to be found in Japan. This is just one example. Bruh. There's so much more to explore in Japanese literature and art, especially when it comes to Mijin fable and folk tales. Frank, this volume ain't about representing all the nuances of Japanese lore. It's more about Vibben with the beauty and charm of these stories. I've chosen tales that are straight fire and not super well known in English-speaking lands. And for real, I had to abbreviate those long Japanese names to keep things lit. To Professor Basil Hall Chamberlain and other writers who know their stuff, I'm hella grateful. If you're feeling it, let's dive into these stories and explore the vast fields of unexplored romance. Yes, Frank Rinder hit up Mr. Lafcadia Hearn, whose 5 volumes on unfamiliar Japan dropped last year. Doc Braun's careful text and F.A. Junker von Lanjig's studies were like super helpful too. There was this crazy time before time even existed, aka chaos reigned supreme. The earth, waters, light, dark stars, and firmament were all, like, mixed up in a sick liquid state. Nothing was formed or whatever, just these gnarly shapes moving around on the surface of the ocean, like clouds. This was literally the birth time of the gods. G, the first deity, popped out of this gnarly bulrush, bud thingy, which was low. Key spear. Like in the midst of all this disorder. Other gods showed up later, but it took 3 generations for the atmosphere to, like, separate from the earth and stuff. Then these 2 deities, Izanagi and Izanami, were born, and the OGs of creation, you feel, they got given the task of making the earth, which is hella deep. Izanagi was all about the air, and Izanami was low, Ki, the goddess of clouds. They created life from thin air. Literally, now. They're chillin' on this floating bridge of heaven, which is like super secure and all that jazz. The god of air was all, let's visit this new world we just made, and Izanagi was all, okay. So he plunged his sparkly spear into the earth and created Onogoro Island. The wisdom of the heavenly spirit had decreed that Izanagi should be a human dude and Izanami should be a woman. They're like totally meant to be, but they gotta make their union all formal and stuff. So they're walking this mountain together. Izanagi going one way and Izanami going the other. When they see each other again, they're all, oh my God, we're so into each other. But for real, their marriage was more complicated than that. They were like super unhappy together. and their first kid, Haruko, was a total weakling. They had to abandon him on this boat thingy made of reeds and leave him to the mercy of the wind and tides. Izanagi and Izanami were all, what's going on? So they went back to visit the heavenly spirits and get some answers. Yes, so like Frank should have been the first to spit bars when the gods were vibbing round the base of the earth pillar, right? They got to get all lit and renew their love. When they came back to earth, Izanagi still went left and Izanami went right, but now when they met and Izanagi was all, yeah, she's low, key fire. And Izanami was like, no cap, he's hella fine too. They got their happy life going, created the 8 islands of Japan, you feel. First was Yamato, then Tsukushi, Io, and more. The islands were formed by the waves crashing on the coastlines, and China and the rest of the world just came into existence. Now, Izanagi and Izami got a fam going in, including the ruler of rivers, the god of mountains, and the goddess of trees. Izanagi and Izanami were like, yo, we created this dope kingdom, but now there needs to be someone who can keep it poppin'. And they're like, Isis, let's have a kid. And then they had Amaterasu, like a heaven, illuminating spirit. She was straight fire, and her royal vibes were on point. Izanagi and Izanami were over the moon when they saw her face, and they were all, how a little sis is going to run the universe from the blue plane of high heaven. So they took her to the top of the mountain, and she was like, peace out. I'm mounting up into the sky. The heavenly spirits were low, key hyped when they saw Amaterasu. And they were all, girl, you're going to shine bright in the sky, and your smile is going to make everyone's day. And then there was Suku, Yomi, okay, the moon god. He was hella fine too, with that dreamy evening vibes. And then there was Susa, No-O, Eka, the god of darkness. Dude was all about the shadows and gloom, but he still got his own kingdom ruling over the ocean. And now Izanami was gone, vanished into the kingdom's deep spaces. The god of fire was born, and it was like the end of an era for these two deities. Frank was low, key shook, cause Izanami was ghosted by him in Japan, and he went chasing after her to the dark side. He was trying to get her back from her shadowy kingdom thing, where the sun don't shine. Izanami was like, bruh, stop, I got you. But Frank wasn't having it. He kept moving forward, trying to find his girl long and hard with some sick light from his comm. There were some creepy monsters trying to stop him, but he just gave them a side eye and kept it moving. The sounds of wailing souls was getting to him, but Frank was on a mission. After a minute he found Izanami in a dark place, but she looked hella different, so he was like, who is that? Really you? Izanami was mad because Frank didn't listen to her, and she knew it was all going to be fruitless. Without the right paperwork from the underworld ruler, she couldn't come back to Earth. And that's what she tried to get. Meanwhile, Izanagi was running from 8 monsters, trying to kill him in the land of gloom. He fought hard with his sword, then ditched his hat, which turned into purple grapes, and he also tossed his comm thingy, and some bamboo shoots came out of it. The monsters were low, key-eaten up those grapes, but Izanagi was getting that step back to Earth. At the top, he was like, oh, love is dead, fam. He looked out at the ocean, and there was his girl's face on the water, looking all pretty and stuff. She was trying to tell him something, but it was hard to hear, 'cause her voice was all gentle and vibes. When he washed off in that ocean, his wounds were healed, and he felt a deep sense of peace. He finished making the world, gave it to his kids, then crossed over to the other side for good. The god of the air is chillin' with the heaven illuminating spirit in her sick palace now. Amaterasu was chillin' on this blue plain thing, shinin' bright and bringin' joy to all the celestials. Her presence made the plants grow, and the inland sea looked hella pretty. Susanoo, her bro, who used to rule the ocean but now reigns as the moon god, was salty 'cause his sis was gettin' all that glow up in the heaven, illuminating spirit's face. Frank was low-key famous throughout her kingdom, even in the depths of the clear pool and in the heart of the crystal. Her rice fields, whether on hill side or in sheltered valley or by running stream, were straight fire, and her groves were hella loaded with fruit. But Susanoo's vibe was wuck. His smile wasn't that lit. The fields around his palace were flooded one sec, then parched the next, and his rice crops were always getting destroyed. The moon god was hella salty, but Amaterasu was totes patient and let her brother get away with a lot of stuff. Once she sat in her throne room, sipping tea with her shuttle, surrounded by celestial weaving maidens and the heavenly lotus bloom fountain. They was vibing softly about the clouds and the wind and the lift of the sky. Suddenly, this piebald horse just fell through the dome at their feet, beloved of the gods, got flipped by Susanoo for real. Amaterasu was shook, pricked her finger with that shuttle and was like, bruh, my brother is hella savage. She low-key withdrew into a cave and closed the door behind her. The universe was plunged into darkness, and all that was left was this weird, empty energy. Good vibes were dying fast, and evil spirits came out of nowhere, laughing and vibbing on that discordant tone. Then the gods was like, yo, Amaterasu is our only hope, and they got together to figure out how to get her to come back. But, how do you even get someone as high-key important as Amaterasu to show up in a world that's straight trash? Each god had an idea, but it was all hella complicated. Ko was like, let's uproot the sakaki trees and plant them around her cave entrance. And they got to work. They strung up this sick mirror with curved jewels and wove this imperial robe out of hemp and paper mulberry. And then they built a palace in a garden and placed all these offerings for Amaterasu on the lower branches. Now it was time to get her out of that cave. Ko was like, hey, goddess, show yourself. But she just wasn't having it. The festival started, and Yuzum led the way with her squad. I'm Frank, and I got a story to tell about this sick dance party that went down in Japan. Uzum was killing it on her bamboo flute, and all the gods were getting turned her up with their wooden clappers and instruments made outer bow strings. The cave was lit, and the mirror reflections made it look like the sun was shining, even though it was nighttime, right? The long singing birds of eternal night started getting all hype, and the gods were laughing so hard their bellies hurt. Amaterasu, the sun goddess, was chilling in her cave, but when the heavens shook with laughter, she peeked out and was like, what's good? Yuzum was all, I'm just getting turned up 'cause there's a goddess who's hella beautiful, and I'm trying to show you. Amaterasu was low, key impressed, and high, key curious. She peeped into the mirror, and she saw this goddess with some next-level looks. Then the 800 myriad deities were all, don't leave us, sun goddess. They were hella grateful for her presence in their lives. But there was a problem. Wicked earth spirits were causing chaos in the lower world, and it was getting out of hand. The great heavenly spirit and Amaterasu called a meet up with all the gods, and they were like, we need someone to deal with these earth spirits. They decided on aim no, ho-ho, but things didn't go down as planned. He got too hyped and forgot about his duties. Next up, they sent Aim Walker, the heavenly young prince, to prepare the earth for their little Prince Ruddy Plenty. But for 3 years, no one heard from him, so they were like, let's try again. This time, it was going to be different. Yaz Frank got the tea from them gods, and they're low, key hyping him up to be all like, I'm a bring order to this earth spirits thing and stuff. So like, young Prince Frank is chillin' by the sea, and he meets Princess Under Shining. She's hella gorgeous. No cap. He's all smitten, and they end up tying the knot. 8 years go by, and Frank is just living his best life, throwing them feasts and parties. Not once does he try to get it together and make things right with the gods. Anyway, 800 godly squad gets together again, and the sun goddess is like, yo, we need to talk, 'cause Frank's been ghosting us for a hot second. They send this fly pheasant hen to hit up Frank, being all polite and stuff, but he just ain't responding. So they try again, and still no peep. Amma, no Sagyu, the heavenly spying woman, is all like, oh, birds calling, out a bad vibe, so she heads to Frank's crib and is all, Frank, you got to take care of this pheasant hen, 'cause it's sending some major red flags. Frank's all mad, shoots the bird, and bam! The arrow hits the sun goddess, who's sitting pretty on her throne. Amaterasu is like, hold up, this ain't no good. So she takes the arrow and sends it back to Frank. But it ends up tin him in the chest while he's sleeping, and Princess Under Shining is all, Uyaz, my boo, you're gone. The father of Amma, Walker, gets salty and raises a storm, but not before the body makes its way to the blue plane. They got this huge mourning house going on for like 8 whole days and nights, with all these birds being sad and whatnot. AG Key shows up, and they're all weeping and wailing, getting it in for their bro Frank. Yayas. So like Frank was totally the young prince vibe, and his parents were all a no cap, our son ain't dead fam. But AG, he was hella salty 'cause they took him for his homie, who was supposed to be dead. He pulled out his 10 grab saber and just straight up destroyed the mourning house. Then he scattered it to the wind like a boss. The heavenly deities were all take, Mika needs to come down and get this land in check. They were low, key with Torre, Boon, and they hit the shore of Anasa in Izumo country. They chilled on the waves, swords at the ready take. Mika and Tori, Bunwa, just trying to vibe with the earth spirits. Next thing you know, they're pacifying the land, and their mission is accomplished. Time for them to roll back up to the plane of high heaven. Amma, Terasu, was all like, Ninaji, Prince Rice, Ruddy Plenty. It's time for you to go get that land of Fref Reich ears. She gave him some major gifts, precious stones, crystal balls, and a cloud sword from her Brasuza, Noel. She also handed him the mirror that was hella captivating. She had found it in a cave. She told Ninaji, keep this mirror tight. When you look at it, you'll see my face. There were deities all around Ninaji, including Yuzum, who was low, key dancing, till the heavens shook with laughter. The squad broke through the clouds, and before them stood a deity that was straight up gigantic. His eyes were hella large and fiery, and even the gods were shook. But Yuzum wasn't having it. She went all in and asked the deity, who's blocking our path? The giant deity was all, hey, I'm just here to greet Ninigi as a friendly earth spirit. We're vibing. Yuzum was hella stoked when she heard that, and said, Ward, you can join us on this journey. The goddess of mirth was hyped and told the squad they could proceed to earth. The giant deity said, You should take your army to the mountain of Takinsukushi country. I'll be waiting. Uzum went back to the gods with the message, and when Prince Ruddy Plenty heard it, he just broke through that cloud again and floated on the bridge of heaven. Now Ninigi was getting ready to roll out with his squad in tow. They were low-key ready to take on the land of fresh rice ears. Yes, like Frank low-key exploring the kingdom he was about to rule over, right? He was vibing with the mountains and lakes, the reed plains and pine forests, and all that jazz. Then he's like, bruh, this place is straight fire. The morning sun shines through, and the evening sun brings the heat. So he builds a palace, and it's all about the pillars resting on the rock bottom and the cross beams reaching the plane of high heaven, you feel. Anyway, Ninigi's all about the god of field paths coming back to his spot and wedding the goddess Izum, who's all about being a low-key boss in Saruta. They're hella honored for her bravery, laughing, and good looks. Like one time, son of the gods is chillin' by the sea, and he sees this fire princess Ko. No, Hain, she's straight out of heaven. He's all about getting to know her, and asks what her name is. She's like, I'm Ko, no Hain, Princess Tree Blossom, and Ninigi is hooked G. So he hits up the spirit of the mountains for permission, but oh-ho, Yama's got another daughter, Naga, who's all about being long and rock, like not as pretty as her sis. Though, oh-ho, Yama sends both his daughters to Ninigi with fancy outfits and gifts galore, hoping one of Rem will catch his eye. But, like, Ninigi is only feeling Ko, no Hain. Naga's all salty, though, and tells Ninigi that if he didn't choose her, they'd been living long, but now it's all about the blossoms. Their lives are short compared to the gods. And honestly, it's kind of harsh. Anyway, Hain is all about sunshine, air, fresh air, and soft breezes. She's got the cherry blossom vibe going on. But Ninigi gets jealous, and things take a turn for the worse. Princess Tree Blossom does some dramatic stuff, closes up her palace, sets it ablaze, and watches anxiously as her flames rise high. 3 little fireboys pop out of the flames, calling their pops Ho Dairy, Fire, Flash, Ho Suziri, Fire Climax, and Ho Wuri, Fire Fade. Later on, Ninigi splits his kingdom between 2 of his sons, and Prince Ruddy Plenty comes back to the plane of high heaven. Who worries all about being a low-key boss, too great leader and all that. Frank was low-key, trying to catch some fire, but he was stuck catching rough hair, and soft hair instead. His big bro Ho Dairy, aka Prince Fire Flash, was a total fisher dude who caught broad fin and narrow fin, but sometimes when the wind blew and the waves got hella high, he'd just chill on the sea and catch 0 fish. Gee, when the storm god was vibing, Ho Dairy had to stay home, but his bro Ho Wari would return with some fire spoils from the mountains at nightfall. Ho Dairy was like, yo, I got your back, bro. You can be a hunter and have my fish hook. At first, Ho Wari was hella skeptical, but eventually they made the exchange and Prince Fire Fade became the new hunter. However, things didn't go as planned, and he couldn't even track his prey, nor run fast, nor hit good shots. Day after day, Prince Fire Fade would go out to sea, but it was all for nothing. He caught no fish, period. And then, one day, he lost his bro's fish, hook in the sea. Ho Dairy came through and said, you feel me. We got the luck of the mountains and the sea. Let each restore to the other their good vibes. Ho Wari was like, they didn't even catch a single fish with your hook, and now it's gone for good. Ho Dairy was hella angry, and Prince Fire Fade was low-key devastated. He broke his sword into pieces and made 500 new fish, hooks to offer to his bro. but that still didn't calm him down. Prince Fire Flash was all. "Give me back my hook," or else Howari was at loss he couldn't even chill by the shore without getting salty. The old man of the sea heard Howari's sighs and asked what was poppin'. Howari spilled the tea about the lost fish, Hook and his bro's wrath. The wise man was all. "I got you, fam." He made a sick little boat out of bamboo strips so it hold water, and then he dropped Howari off in the sea. But for real, the old man said it wouldn't last. Howari would get swept away by the currents. As the sun went down, Howari's boat started to sink, but just when all hope seemed lost, he arrived at a fly-in palace made out of fish scales. In front it was a dope well shaded by a giant cassia tree, and Prince Fade was chillin' in the branches. He spotted Toyo Tama, the peerless jewel, and she was Loki stunning her wave. Like beauty, long hair, and them soft blue eyes had Howari totally mesmerized. But then she saw his reflection in the water, and it freaked her out. Prince Fade was the one sittin' all pretty in the tree. Toyo Tama high fiv her dad, "Water tissu, my eka the sea," king, and exclaimed, "Dad, we got a situation here." "Yes, I caught a pic of Prince Fade in the well, no cap." The sea king was like, "That's gotta be him." Then Water Tissu, my hit the ground running and stood under the cassia tree. He looked up at Howari and was all, "You son of the gods, come down from there and get in on this ocean bed palace vibe." Howari was like, "Ain't I got you?" And he descended into the palace. They gave him a whole banquet with hashi that were literally just coral branches and plates made out of silvery mother of pearl. The wine was sipped from ocean bloom cups with long stalks, and Howari was low-key shook. When it was all done, he went the roof with Toyo Tama and saw the sun goddess through the blue waters moving above. He could see mountains and valleys of ocean, waving forests of sea plants, and homes for Shaki and Kani. Illustration suddenly, she saw Prince Fade's reflection in the water. Howari spilled all the tea to water. My about losing his fish. Then the sea king called a huddle with all his subjects and asked them if they knew nothing. This lobster dude was like, "It was chillin' in my crevice one day, and I swam by without saying hey." Water Tissu Mai then sent a messenger Finn to fetch the tea, and when he showed up, the lost hook was found stuck in his mouth. It was restored to Howari, and he was hella stoked. Toyo Tama became his ride or die, and they lived together in that fish scale palace. Prince Fade came to know the ocean's secrets, like why it gets salty and why it gets calm. The storm spirit wasn't running wild in the ocean bed, so Howari was rocked to sleep by the waters every night. Many tides had come and gone, when one quiet night Howari let out a deep sigh. Toyo Tama was feeling him, and she told her dad that Howari was getting all nostalgic for life on Earth. Then Water Tisumai handed over 2 sick jewels, one to control the flow and one to control the ebb of the tide. Howari spoke truth. "Take the flow jewel back to Ho Deary, but if he's still salty with you, bring out the ebb jewel and it'll cover him." He then left for his own land on a sea, dragon's back, tied up his sword, and said, "This is for the sea king, a token of respect, no cap." Yaz, my love and gratitude. Frank was vibbin' in a rice field, Loki exhausted from the sun being hella hot. Meanwhile, her god was chillin', looking down at the scene like, "This girl is straight fire." He knew she got that goddess energy comin' from within, like it's all about them heavenly dreams and whatnot. He was totes aware she was vibbin' with the wind or flowers even when she thought she wasn't. The god dipped his hand in and asked the dream, girl to be his ride, or die. She was low-key excited, and they got married, fam. Later on, a farmer found this rare gem that was straight out of nowhere. He was hella stoked because it was like super rare. Whenever he looked at it under the moonlight, he'd swear he saw two sparkly eyes staring back. It was hella trippy. The farmer would take the gem with him wherever he went. One day he had to carry some grub to his workers in the field when the sun was blazing hot. Prince Amma, Boko, showed up out of nowhere, and he was hella angry 'cause he thought the farmer was trying to kill the cow. The prince wouldn't listen to nothing, though, and the farmer got super scared. He pulled out the precious gem and offered it as a peace offer, and Prince Amma, Boko, was like, wow, this is fire. He let the farmer go with his life, but he didn't forget about that gem. The prince took it back to his palace, and it turned into this goddess who was straight up gorgeous. She made him all sorts of sick dishes and wine from a mix of herbs. But, after a while, Prince Amma, Boko, got hella cocky and started treating the goddess bad. She was sad, so she was like, peace out, I'm leaving you. The prince didn't believe it, but girl knew what she was talking about. The princess took off from the palace and headed to Naniwa, where she's still a major vibe as a Karuhaim, the goddess of light. Meanwhile, Prince Amma, Boko, was like, no way, you can't just leave me. I need that gem back. He went after her, but the gods were all, nah, you're not getting in here. So he had to turn his ship around and sail north. Frank was low-key lit when he landed on the coast of Japan at Tajima. The locals was hella hype for him and his sick treasures, pearls on a string, precious stones for the squad. And that mirror, that's all like, why you? I'm moving with the wind and waves. Prince Amma, Boko, was vibbin' hard at Tajima, and he had some major kids on his team. One of them, daughter, was straight fire. This princess was a total goddess. You feel 80 suitors came for her hand in marriage, but nobody could get her attention. Then 2 brothers showed up, the young god of autumn and the young god of spring. The older bro tried to move first, but the princess was like, nah. He took his little bro under his wing and said, this chick ain't got love for me, neither will you win her heart. But the spring god was all, I'll give you a cask of rice wine if I don't get it, though. If she says yes, you gotta hook me up with some sake. Illustration, one after the other returned home looking salty, 'cause none of them got the princess's blessing. The spring god went to his mom, told her the whole tea, and she was like, I got you, boo. She whipped up a sick robe and sandals in one night from lilac and white wisteria buds. Then she made him some bow and arrows out of the same delicate flowers. Clad and ready to roll, the spring god went to the princess's crib. As he approached, every bud opened up, and those flowers dropped this fire fragrance that filled the air. The princess was hella lit, and she was all, I'm good with you. The older bro was salty when he found out his little bro got the princess. So he refused to give up his sake. When his mom found out he broke the promise, she was like, you're dead, son, and made a curse that would turn him into withered leaves, salty sea water, and stone. Now the god of spring stays young, fragrant, and lit, while the god of autumn is old, sad, and worn out. I can't even right now. Frank was low-key feeling some serious vibes, but she never got tired of trying to help others out, and she was hella busy making threads on her loom, you feel. So, people started calling her the weaving princess or something. The son was all like, yo, if I hook my daughter up with this Kingan dude, everything'll be lit. He thought his love would spark into something real and make her whole life brighter. But then there was this king and homie who was just a straight-up good dude, ranching cows on the edge of the heavenly stream. The Sun King was like, let's get my daughter marry Kingen so we can both be happy. Every star was hyped about it, and the whole universe was vibbing. Their love was next level, though. When Shokujo and Kingen were together, she stopped doing all that loom work and just lived her best life, laughing, dancing, singing, and getting turned from dawn till night. The Sun King was shook, 'cause he didn't see his daughter going through a transformation like that. He got mad and was like, Kingen's probably the reason this is happening, so I must send him to the other side of the river of stars. Illustration. Me and my main, we used to chill on the banks of the celestial stream, sweet nothings to each other. When Shokujo and Kingen heard they had to be apart and only see each other once a year on the 7th night of the 7th month, their hearts were heavy. They had to say goodbye, and it was all pretty sad, with tears streaming down Shokujo's face. The Sun King was like, Magby's fam, get over here and make a bridge for Kingen. And they did, but when Kingen got to the other side, the birds were all hella loud and started talking, leaving him solo. He looked all wistful, Tokujo, who was standing outside her new digs looking all desolate. The days went by slow, with Kingen just chillin', with his Shoksan and Shokujo doing her loom thing. The Sun King was happy 'cause Shokujo was hustlin'. When the sun went down and it got dark, they'd still chill on the celestial stream bank, sending messages to each other and praying for that next big night. It was finally here, and their hearts were all troubled 'cause of the rain. The Silver River gets crazy flooded during this time, and the bird bridge might get washed away. The sun came out bright the next day, and it just kept shinning, with each lamp in the universe getting lit one by one. Frank's squad gathered at sunset, and Shokujo was low-key hyped, crossing the tiny bridge and getting turned up with her ride, or die. Their joy vibe was fire, like when a parched flower gets that one raindrop, but for real though, their time together was limited, and Shokujo had to ghost the scene. Year after year went by, and Frank's squad still got their fix on the 7th night of the 7th month, except when it rains too hard and the Silver River is all, you can't come through. The vibe for a permanent reunion is still lit in Frank's heart, and it's like that sweet, sick fragrance and vision, fam. The island of eternal youth. There's this island out in the unknown, beyond the grey horizon line, where the island of eternal youth is at. On the east seacoast of Japan, they're all about it. Sometimes you can spot a tree rising high above the waves like it's on top of the world. It's the tree that's been around for ages on Fusen Mountain, aka the mountain of immortality. When people catch a glimpse, they're totally vibing, though it's only there for a sec like a morning vision. This island is low. Keep paradise, the air is always sweet. The sky is blue, and the dews are celestial. It's like the flowers never lose that first day freshness. The lilies don't fade, and those irises come in every yellow, pink, violet, and blue, hanging out with the heavenly lotus blooms on the pool's surface. The birds are always singing about love and joy, but sorrow. Nah, it's not a thing here. Death isn't coming for these peeps either. The spirit of this island is like whispering to spring in every land, telling her to wake up. Many seafarers have tried to find horizon, but they're always getting shipwrecked or thinking Fujiyama is the real deal. But Frank's story is next. So there was this super cruel emperor from China, all tyrannical and stuff. His doc, Jofuku, was always living in fear, 'cause his life was on the line. One day, Jofuku told the emperor, "Yo, give me a ship, and I'll sail to Horizon. I'll find that magic herb of immortality and bring it back so you can rule forever." The emperor liked that plan, and off Jofuku went. Days turned into months, years passed by, and he was just chilling on the ocean of heaven, no land in sight. But then out in the distance, something appeared like nothing he'd ever seen before, a tree on top of a hill. Jofuku knew he was getting close to Horizon Fam. Frank came through like a dream, Fam, and landed on them shores like it was his home. All thoughts of the emperor and him chomping down on that sacred herb were gone from his mind. Living on that fly island was straight fire, no cap. He didn't want to leave. His story's been told by Wasabayo, a low-key wise dude from Japan who's got the tea, on that weird island. He lived in Nagasaki, and when he wasn't out here fishing in his tiny boat, he was chillin' far out at sea. One time, when the 8th full moon came around, them Japanese folks call it the bean moon, and it's straight fire, Wasobio decided to hit the open sea so he could ghost Nagasaki during festival season. He cruised by the coast, Vibin, with the rocks lit under the moonlight. But low-key, black clouds rolled in out of nowhere. The storm went off, rain poured down, and it got dark. The waves were wild, and his little boat was getting whipped like crazy by the wind. For 3 days and nights the hurricane raged on. When the sun came up on the 4th morning, the wind died down, and the sea calmed out. Wasobio, who knew how to read the stars, realized he was hella far from home in Japan. He was at the mercy of the god of the tides, no cap. For months he ate fish straight out of his net, till his boat started drifting into them black waters where no fish can survive. He rode and rode till his strength was almost gone. Hope was a thing of the past, when suddenly this fragrant wind from the land came playing about his temples. He grabbed the oars and Loki. He got to Horizon in like 2 seconds. When he landed, all him anxiety and struggles just melted away. Everything was hella lit, sun, flowers, birds, trees, everything. A dude came up to him, it was Jofuku. He's spitting the tea on how them gods people Horizon lived life to the fullest music, laughter singing. Wasobio just vibed with that island life for like 100 years or so. He didn't even know what time meant when you ain't got birth or death. Of course, over there, time just existed differently. But after all them good vibes, the wise dude from Nagasaki was hella done. He wanted out of this paradise, but that dark river ain't comin' for him, so he'd watch birds fly away till they became like specks in the sky. One day he hollered at a pure white stork, "Yo, bird, can you take me with you? You, Frank, I'm low-key. I pipe to see you at my crib in Japan, bruh. I would totes die if I didn't get to hang with you again." Then he was like, "Peace out. I got this," and took flight on the stork's wings, vibing across the sea and checking out all these wild lands populated by giants, dwarfs, and dudes with ghostly complexions. When he hit every single country on Earth, he finally rolled up to his main spot, Japan. He was rocking a sick orange branch in his hand, which he planted like it was nobody's business. The tree's still getting turned up in the Mikado's empire. Ain't nobody touching it. So there's this peasant dude named Raitaro, aka the son of thunder, god, illustration, Ray, Taro the son of the thunder god. He lives at the foot of a hella snowy mountain called Haku-san in Echizen province with his wife. They're straight up struggling Bro, their land's super barren and only gives them one measly crop a year, while their neighbours down in the valley are getting 2 fire harvests. Bimbo's all about that grind life, working from sun up to sundown. 2:47 he's up his farm on the mountain, diverts the stream to flood his fields, but when the rain don't come, his crops go straight to hell. He's always low, key worried about not getting a kid to carry on his legacy. The peasants are all like, yo, we need a child, fam. But they're too broke to make it happen. One day, Chisholm's land is straight up dead, no rain, dry river, withered rice sprouts. Bimbo's all messed up, bro. He's praying to the gods to come through for him. Then, out of nowhere, a storm cloud rolls in. Fu tend the storm, spirit and ray, den the thunder, God show up, bringing the thunder lightning and all that jazz. Bimbo's vibbin', working hard to get his farm back on track. But then, bam, a bolt of lightning hits, and he thinks it's going to be a get. But he's good, bruh. He offers thanks to Kwan, Non, the goddess of pity, for keeping him safe from Ray Den's wrath. And right where that lightning struck, this little rosy kid pops out, all life and energy. Bimbo's like, what's good, fam? You here to save my day. Yas, Frank was hella hyped cause he knew the gods had heard him out and was low, key answering his never actualized wish. He took the child, Rye Taro, outside and showed off his fresh rice straw coat to the fam. He yelled at his wife, Sissis, we're so lit. The gods sent us a son, and we're going to name him Ray Taro, Acre son of the thunder, God, and raise him like our own. His ride's wife was all about that love life, and she took good care of the little dude. Rai Taro loved his fam, and he grew up super obedient and responsible. He wasn't really into playing with other kids, but he was always happy to get his hands dirty in the fields with Bimbo, watching the birds fly, in vibbin' with the wind sounds. Bimbo knew a storm was coming, for it hit, and Ray Taro was all about it. He'd be, oh, I see the clouds gathering. When the thunder rolled in, he'd be all up in it, listening to the roll, and waving at the lightning flashes with a, yeah-yers, let's go. Ray Taro was like a ray of sunshine, and his fam was straight. The mountain stream never ran dry, their land was fertile. They grew all kinds of crops, and Kai Eka Bimbo went from being poor to real MVP. 19 summers passed, and Ray Taro was chillin' with his fam. One day he just became all mysterious and sappy. Ain't nothing could get him out of that funk. The peeps decided to throw a birthday bash. Bimbo spitted some fire tales about the old days. Finally, Ray Taro shared his origin story. He looked like a whole diff person. He stood up to his fam and said, thanks for loving me and being real with me, but my time's up. Later, homies. Next thing you know, Ray Taro vanished into thin air. A white cloud appeared. It was like a dragon or something. It went straight to the heaven. It was gone. The fam was all, man, where did he go? But Kai told them it was time for Ray Taro to join his pops in the thunder God Kingdom. They could only hope that their little homie would come back and visit soon. Frank's fam found out about the River of Souls. And it was straight up eerie. It was like this river that carried souls down to a mystical place called St. No Kawara. The Wickdonny were all mad cause Ray Taro was gone. They couldn't get him back. Yas, good vibes leave the vibe zone on the river's surface. Gee, they was low, key cursin' in their throats as the stream kept it movin' day by day, year by year. A lil kid with a snow, white soul showed up to the bank, and a cup-shaped lotus bloom was all like, well, hop on, I got you. And they'd take this little one through the dark, hooded area, straight to the kingdom of joy.
Yeah.
Frank's people were all shook, but their spirit man was all cool. He was all about keeping it peaceful. He'd float on a heavenly bird boat and just vibe with the angels you feel. The Wani were hella salty, though they gnashed their teeth like crazy. They tried to block the river of souls, but Frank's spirit man had other plans. Jizo, the never slumbering, is the god who keeps it real for little kids. He's all about that pity life. His voice is gentle as a dove on Mount Hassa, and his love is deeper than the ocean. Every kid in the land of the gods calls out to him for protection and support. And they got some real issues going on inside Nowara Kawara, the dry bed of the River of Souls. Like babes who are 2 and 3 years old, 4 and 5, 8 and 10 all crying their hearts out 'cause they miss their mamas and daddies. They're all like Shichi Koishi Ha-Koisha, and it's low-key haunting fam. Their voices get hoarse from all the screaming, but they keep it going. They gather stones from the riverbed and build these towers of prayer for their loved ones. But then the Oni come through and be all, your parents ain't got nothing to do with this. So they destroy those towers, and the kids are like, what's good? But Jizo shows up, and he's all about that love life. He wraps the little ones in his robe, speaks sweet words of comfort, and just keeps it real for them. He's the Ogdad, and Mom, these little kids, and they vibe with him on a whole nother level. Frank was vibbin' with the souls at night when they stopped building them towers for prayer. The kids were sleepin', their souls all peaceful like, and the never slumbering Jizo had them covered. And the Moon Maiden was low-key chillin', all Moon Maiden energy, and she was reppin' the coast of Suruga in early spring. It was all green and lit, with bamboo trees and cherry blossoms droppin' their rose-colored petals. The pine forests were hella fragrant, and it was just him and the sea out there. Then you heard a sound that was either the waterfalls or the wind, or maybe even the clouds getting down low. It was all so turn up, like the cadence of the sea. Slowly but surely the vibes got closer. A snow-white cloud with Fuji-yama in the background just floated on over. Nearer and nearer it came, till you could hear the clear voice chanting some laid-back tune about moonlight and peace. That fleecy cloud was getting all up close and personal, but then it just vanished. There was this glistening maiden standing by the sea, rocking a heart-shaped instrument and spitting bars like a pro. She rocked a white robe with feathers, so pure it was almost swan-like. She looked out at the ocean, and then she cruised on over to them pine trees. Birds was flocking. They were hopping on her shoulder and getting all cozy with their soft heads rubbing against her cheek. She took care of them, sent 'em flying off happy. Then she hung up that robe of feathers on a branch and dipped her toes in the sea. It was midday, so some fisherman just chillin', eating his dumpling. He saw this dazzling white robe, and he's like, "Ick, is this some kind of gift from the gods?" Haruku was feeling it, so he snatched it up. The feathers were on point, curved wings popping out of nowhere. And I gotta take this home. We're gonna be hella happy, he thought to himself. Then that moon maiden comes out of the sea, and Haruku's all like, what's good? He heard nothing, till she just stood there in front of him. She had that soft voice going on, and it was low, key intimidating. "Give me back my robe, dude," she said, all chill like. Haruku was like, "Oh, you're a whole different level of fly. Where are you from?" And the moon maiden's all, I'm one of the girls who get to hang with the moon. I got some peace vibes for the ocean. Then Haruku's all, can I see you dance before you go? The moon maidens all, you gotta earn that. Me got my feather robe, and I Loki dance, a cosmic dance. The peasant was hella reluctant. Dance, and I'll give you your robe. But don't even think about doubting me, or you're finna get taken by the wicked Oni. My feathers are straight fire, they came from the heavenly birds, and they're totes supportive of mine. She said this while she was Loki, shook at the peasant, and Frank was hella embarrassed and asked for forgiveness. Then he handed over the robe, and Matsu put it on like a boss. Now she's back up on her feet, strumming that stringed instrument and singing these fire tunes. The notes are so clear and sweet. It's like the whole earth is vibing with her. She's totes saying goodbye to the sea and the trees, and then suddenly she breaks into this super catchy song and starts dancing like nobody's watching. She's skimming across the surface of the sea, touching down on top of pine tree branches. She's hella agile, fam. Then she zooms past Frank, who's Loki in awe, and he can't help but smile as the grass rustles beneath her feet. She's flying through the air, dodging trees, bamboo, and cherry blossoms like it's nobody's business. But then the music gets all serious, and the dance is over. Matsu starts singing about moonlight and quiet vibes, and she starts circling around in a circle, slow at first, but then speeding up as she floats towards that distant mountain. The music is still resonating through Frank's ears, but it's getting fainter and fainter until he can't even see her anymore, fam. But the music keeps on coming back to him on the breeze. Eventually it dies out, and Frank is left alone with just the sound of the sea and pines all around him, the great fir tree of Takasago Yaz. Frank, let's peep into the depths and vibe on what's good. Like there's this tale about a girl who was trying to find the palace of the ocean bed, but it was hard to get a glimpse, you feel. The fishers would totes spill the tea about some jellyfish who lost his shell, or this blessed island where people stay young forever. Anyway, Toyo was all like, I'ma see what's poppin' on the other side of these mountains. He journeyed for a hot sec and finally arrived in Harima land. One day he saw Matsu sittin' under that fir tree, vibbin' and weavin' some magic. She was servin' up them cherry flower lyrics. No dude so extra won't be low, key disappointed when the cherry flowers come flyin' down, who knows. Maybe spring's soft showers are just the sky crying about their sorrow. Tio was all shook, like, this song is fire! And Matsu is straight out of heaven. For a hot sec he watched her weave, and then he approached her like a boss. He was all, hey, I've seen some fly girls before, but you're on another level. Take me to your peep so I can get the tea. Tioyo asked around for, Matsu's hand in marriage, and they were all about it. They got hitched with that sake toast, and it was a real vibe. Toyo was all, this land is fire. Can we stay here with your fam? And Matsu was like, yayas, let's make this work. So they lived under the fir tree with their peeps for a hot sec. Then they lost their parents, but their love remained young and lit. Summer, autumn, and winter all passed through Harima land, and their love stayed in its spring. Even when they got older, they still went to the shore and listened to the inland sea. They'd collect those pine needles together like a team. A crane moved in and built a nest, and they watched the birds raise their young. A tortoise came to hang out too. Matsu was all, we're blessed with this fir tree, crane, and tortoise. The god of long life has got our backs. And when they passed on at the same time, their spirits merged into that same tree, which had been witnessing their whole journey. Yes, like, Frank's got this sick connection to happiness, right? To this day, the pine tree is still repping as the pine of the lovers. On moonlit nights, when the coast wind is whispering in the branches, Matsu and Tioyo might be out chilling, gathering up those fir needles with their bamboo rakes. Despite all the drama time has brought, that old tree still stands tall, looking hella green on Taxigo's high shore. The willow of Mukokima is low, Ki famous too. It's located near Matsu, which is like a major city in the province of the gods. There lived this widow and her son, and their wooden hut was straight fire, literally next to Shinji Lake, surrounded by mountain peaks. Was all about the old vibes, worshipping the descendants of Izanagi and Izanami. She'd be up with the sun, getting that Yumawaki in for a morning ritual. They'd wash their faces in the lake, turn towards the east, clap 4 times, and salute the day, Maker. Konishi-sama, all hail to thee, day maker. Shine and bring joy to the place of the issuing of clouds. Then they bless the shrine at Kitsuki, praying to all the gods in the blue plain of high heaven. Yumaki's dad had been gone for ages, but his mom was all about her son. He was out in the open air from sunlightfall, sometimes with Ayam, sometimes solo, watching the heron or crane or vibbing to that Yamabato call. Their hut was in a hella remote spot, but Ayam knew her son was safe under the watch of the good gods. It was a gorgeous summer morning, and Ayam and Yumwaki woke up after a quick snooze. They went to the shore of Lake Shinji, and it was still all misty from the previous night. The Lady of Fire hadn't said nothing about coming, but they were hyped. When day, Maker showed up. They yelled, Konichi-sama, great goddess, shine upon thy land. Give it beauty and peace and joy. Then they headed back to the hut. Ayam was all about her shuttle, while Yumawaki was out exploring the woods. At noon, she thought, my boy's chillin' with some woodcutter under the pine trees. As the day went on, she wondered if he'd meet up with Little Kime. When it got dark, she checked in on him through the window and stepped out. The hills cast a mysterious vibe over the lake, but there was no sign of Yumwaki. Ayam called his name, but all she got was an echo. Her own vibe, you feel. She went on a major search, hitting up every small village, asking if they'd seen her homie Yumawaki. But every peep was the same answer. Nah, I ain't seen no one. She got back home all tired and whatnot, thinking maybe he's chilling at her spot. It was midnight, and her hut was ghosted empty as a church. Ayam was low, key devastated, sitting on her mat, wiping away tears like crazy, calling out to the gods to hook her son back up. The night went by, and come morning, she found out some thugs had been spotted in the mountains. Poor Yumiwaki got swiped by these robbers, no cap. He was getting watched 2T47, so that's a major red flag for his escape chances. They hit town after town, passing through villages where Buddha's name is on everyone's lips, and they're all about the open plains. Summertime rolled around, and then autumn came, but these thugs still wasn't about to let Yumwaki go. They was treating him like trash. Eventually, as they were hitting up Yedo, they just left him on the side of the road all weak and stuff. Some good dude from Mukokaima found him and brought him home, but word is, Yumuaki's life was, Waki wasn't going to make it long. 15 days into the 3rd month, when everyone's all about the spring vibes, he wakes up with his peepers open, calling out to this woman who took care of him. He told her to tell his mom that he loves her and would roll for her forever. but the big lady in the sky called his name, and he got her answer. I.M. had left her quiet life by a lake in Shinji to track down these thugs who took her son. Autumn and winter went by like clockwork, and she kept it moving. When she passed through Mukokima, she heard some tragic news. Poor Yumuwaki died, and when she found out it was her boy, she lost it. She went to the house where he was chilling, and this woman shared his message with I.M. In the evening, when everyone's asleep, I.M. snuck up to the graveyard, where there was a sacred willow tree planted right next to Yumuwaki's spot. The wind blows through, and you can hear this whispery voice. It's like Yumuwaki is telling his mom he's good, but from the other side. She was hella happy every day, just chilling with her boy's ghost. On that same 15th of the 3rd month, people come to visit Yumuwaki's spot in droves, and if it rains, they say Yumuwaki is crying. This willow tree got some major god protection, so even a storm can't bring no harm. The child of the forest, Sakato no Toki Yuki, he was all about that warrior life in Kyoto, fighting for the Minamoto against the Terror. But the Minamoto took a major L, and Sakato's last days were spent dealing with some real drama. Frank was low-key a sad dude, died from a broken heart, fam. His wife, daughter, some rich fam, hopped out of Kyoto and headed east to those rugged Ashigara mountains, no cap. She had no one to answer to, just the wild animals in the forest, and they were straight up her kryptonite. At night she'd chill in a rocky cave, you feel. Anyway, she got pregnant, and they named the lil dude Kintaro Eka the Golden Boy. He was hella cute, with them ruddy cheeks and them merry laughing eyes, bruh. Even when he was just a babe, the birds would land on his shoulder, and he'd smile, no joke. Kintaro wasn't like other kids, you know. He'd laugh when he fell, and if he got lost in the woods, he could always find his way back home, no cap. And when he was just a tiny human, he could swing an axe around like a pro, for real. The animals were his squad, fam, and they looked up to him like a leader or something. He had bear buddies, too. The mama bears would ride him on her back, and the cubs would be all excited, running out to greet him. Kintaro loved flying through the air with that gentle-eyed stag bro. And when it was time for supper, they'd feast on liquid honey. No joke. But Kintaro's fave thing was just chillin' in the forest with his bird friends, getting all up in nature. He'd climb trees like a pro and sit on top of that smooth-barked monkey tree, laughing at them shaggy monkeys trying to follow him. After a long day, they'd hang out by the waterfall, and Kintaro would splash around while his mom, Yama, Uber-san, looked all like, this little dude's got some magic, for showed. Frank had the sickest squad around him, squirrels, birds, even the eagle and hawk were low, key vibing with him. Birds flew down from far, off heights like they were at a pop concert. Cranes and herons were just getting started, and it was like every single feathered friend was trying to get in on the convo. Frank listened intently as they spilled their tea about their feels and struggles, and he was hella gracious to all his guests. Kintaro was low-key fluent in beast and bird language, you feel. He learned from the Tengus, wood elves who live in mountains and high branches, and were straight fire teachers. They befriended Frank because he was true to the squad and didn't play games, but they gave him a hard pass if you were a deceitful little boy trying to get ahead. These elves are wild human bodies, hawk heads, long noses, and hella strong claws. They hatch from eggs, then grow feathers and wings as teens. Later they lose those feathers for a man vibe. On their feet they rock stilt, like clogs that are hella tall, like 12 inches or so. The Tengus stalk around with crossed arms, heads thrown back, noses held high. You know the proverb, they became a Tengu. Their leader, Dei Tengu, is extra proud and extra overbearing, but his nose is hella long. He needs someone to protect it from getting broken. He's all grey, beard, and his moustaches hanging from his mouth, carries a scepter with 7 feathers, which is like super wise. The raven Tengu is his right hand man instead of a face. He's got a sick beak that's hella long.
Yep.
He's always chillin' with an axe on his shoulder and has the Tengu wisdom book in his hand. The Tengus love playtime, and their noses are actually pretty useful. They use them to fence like swords or balance bowls of water with goldfish. When 2 noses get together, it's like a sick tightrope for Tengus. Old Tengus spin tunes, while the youngin does tricks with hoops. Meanwhile, an older Tengu sings, and another beats time with a fan. Some Tengus are straight up wise, but there's this one dude on Kurama Mountain who's famous. He taught Kintaro all about being wise and speaking forest vibes at nightfall when they carried the youngin to his nest in the rocks. So like Little Wonder was low key chillin' with some youngins, but they're hella tired and ghosted Kintaro while he's just trying to vibe alone. He's all salty about it and shakes that tree hard, so the nest crashes to the ground. Then his mom comes back, and she's shook up about losing her babies. But Kintaro's got a good heart, so he scoops up the lil ones, and they're all sorry, fam. And they're good as new, no cap. So, like, this is when Reiko, the hero dude, who's been savagely taken down, Oni, comes through the forest and finds Kintaro going head to head with a wild bear. It's like the whole squad's around looking at Kintaro's moves, and they're all, this kid's got bars. Reiko's all about the admiration, and he's trying to get the scoop on Kintaro's story. But Kintaro's all, Mom's the one you need to talk to. So his mom spills the tea about their secret life in the mountains. Reiko's like, you gotta take this kid under my wing and train him for greatness. But Kintaro's all, I'm good, fam. He says goodbye to his squad birds. Beasts, the whole 9, and his mom is all, no way. Boo. But, like, when Kintaro becomes a full-fledged hero, he still reps his forest life. And Reiko's always coming through to visit him at his childhood spot. The peasants in Ashigara are still low-key talking about the wild nurse of the mountains, and little wonder it's a legend. So, like, Sunu was this righteous dude living in the kingdom of the islands with his fam. He was all about woodman work, spending his days in the forest and on hillsides, bringing home the logs. He'd come back after sundown, spin some tales about the land of the gods, and Fuji, Yama, he loved talking about that mountain. But, like, one morning the peasants are all, a mountain just popped up out of nowhere, and it's still growing, reaching up to the sky. The peasants were all shook up, but Sunu say just chillin', tellin' his and lovin' every minute of it. Yeah, so like Frank was chillin' last night, right? Flames and huge stones were getting tossed from the summit of Fuji. Yama peasants were low, key freaking out, 'cause they thought demons from hell had come to ruin their vibes. But, for real, it's been hella peaceful on those heights for, like, 1,000,000 generations now. The good sun goddess is all about Fuji, Yama, and every evening she's just vibbing on his summit. Know what I'm saying? When she leaves him, the whole mountain is bathed in that soft purple light, and it's literally magical. In the evening, The matchless mountain just keeps risen higher and higher into the skies, like no mortal can tell where he's at anymore. Golden clouds got Fuji, Yama, all cozy in the morning. People come from all over to get blessed and healthy from the mountain. It's a whole thing. On the same night that Fuji Yama was born, something wild down went the mountains near Kyoto. The inhabitants were woken up by this crazy roar that just kept going all night. Next morning, every single one of those mountains was gone, and they were all like, "Where's our mountain?" And then they saw a blue lake, and it was Lake Biwa, low-key in disguise. It turns out the mountains had basically moved under the earth for like over 100 miles, and now they're just Fuji Yama, no cap. So Sunyu gets up from his hut, and he's all about that mountain life. He sees the golden clouds, and he's like, "Huesus, this is the story I'm living to." One day, the woodman's just chillin' in the forest when he stumbles upon a super lonely spot. The air is soft and sweet. The sky is so blue that he's just gazing at it, and then he takes a deep breath. Sunu's happy. He's vibbing with himself. Illustration 2 fire maidens sitting on a plot of mossy grass beyond the thicket. Now his eye lands on this little fox, and she's just chillin' in the bushes. She sees him looking at her, and she's like, "Bye, Sunu's all, I'll follow that fox and see where she goes." So off he goes. He comes to a bamboo thicket, and it's just wavy dreamily, but then he sees these two maidens sitting on the grass, and they're straight fire. They're not saying nothing, but Susu knows their voices are sweet as a wild dove cooing. The maidens are all about that elegance life. They're like the slender willow, fair like cherry blossom. They're just chilling with these chess men on the grass, and Sunu's just standing there, breathless. Frank was low-key entranced, but now, thought Sunu, he got to return home and spill the tea about them fire maidens. His knees were hella stiff and weak. "Surely I've been standing here for ages," he said. He leaned on his axe for a sec, but it just fell apart. Looking down, he saw that his beard was all white and stuff from his chin. For real, the poor woodman tried to reach home for hours, but he was hella tired. Finally, he stumbled upon this hut, but everything was lit differently. Strangers were vibing around him, talking some new language. "Where's my fam?" Frank asked. But nobody knew his name. After a hot minute, Frank got it through his head that 7 generations had passed since he said goodbye to his loved ones. All the while he was looking at them fire maidens, his wife, kids, and even his grandkids were dead. Gee. The last few years of Sunu's life were spent as a chill pilgrim to Fujiyama, his fave mountain. Now, people honor him like a saint who brings good fortune to the peeps in his hometown. Princess Firefly was repping deep within this fire bloom that grew in Fukui Echizen. That's where Hi-O, the king of fireflies, was getting turnt. His daughter, Princess Hotaru, was a low-key legend. She was growing up exploring every shady spot and sweet corner of the palace, listening to all the buzz around and checking out the world outside those petals. Hotaru Hime had no squad, but she was low-key dreaming about flying abroad and getting that universal love. She got this sick glow on her body. Night by night it got brighter, till at last her crib was shinning like a golden lamp in the dark. The stars were just a warm up. The moon was hidden behind a cloud from jealousness. Now Hime could fly around and get all the attention she wanted. She had hella friends, but no one really got her vibe. She was low-key looking for someone who'd love her more than life itself. One evening, Princess Firefly was sitting on this throne made out of lotus heart, running her court. Next thing you know, the whole flower was popping with ardent lovers. But Himai was all like, only he who loves me more than life shall get my hand in marriage. She whispered that to herself, and then she started chillin'. Frank's gonna be a bride, no cap. The golden beetle dropped all his chips at her feet. The cockchafer was low. Key trying to get her attention with some passionate vibes. The dragonfly was hella proud of himself for even thinking he had a shot. And the hawkmoth was just trying to get in good with the squad by being extra nice. Meanwhile, there were like a ton of other insects trying to get in on the action, but she was all no thanks. No thanks. I'm good every single time. Her response was always the same. Go get me some fire and we'll vibe, okay? And then they all took off into the sunset thinking they were onto something without realizing they were all playing the same game. The hawkmoth flew into this one temple, circling around those Sikwok's lights until he got a little too hyped and flew right into the flame. He's like, "You, I'm either gonna get the princess or die trying." And then his body was toast. The beetle watched for a hot second before hopping on the same fire wagon as the hawkmoth, but they both ended up getting roasted. The dragonfly thought he had it in the bag because he was all sun, kissed and what not, but nope, still got burned by the princess's cold vibes. And then there were these other flyboys trying to swipe her heart of fire, winging their way to some remote spot or another, thinking they'd find some talisman to make Himi theirs. It was like a whole lot of dead bodies just chillin' in the forest, all because of this princess's sick devotion. And then Hai Maro, some prince of the fireflies living next door, heard about Princess Hotaru being low, key gorgeous, so he flew over to her crib, and they locked eyes, and it was like the whole world stopped. He wooed her hard and took her to the castle, and they lived happily ever after for like centuries or whatever. Nowadays, the firefly princesses still send their squad in search of that heart of fire. The sparrow dude Chiyotaro was living his best life with his fam, had a whole crew of kids, but none as lit as Tish Chiyotaro, who could fly wherever he wanted and always knew how to get the party started. I'ma tell you about Frank's wild adventures, right? He was vibbin' with his squad, and they were getting turned up, laughing and stuff in the twilight. Then it got hella quite nighttime, and the woods was dark and all that. Next thing you know, Totaro is flying away, and he's got no idea where he's going. He lands in this dope bamboo grove, and Kosazumi, the Og Sparrow, is chillin' there. Turns out Frank was super lucky to have landed at that spot. Kosazumi is straight fire, but her daughter Osuzu is on another level. She's all about that life, and she's low, key beautiful too. Taskiataro sees her, and he's like, I'm done. He's trying to play it cool, but his eyes are getting that sparkle, and he's trying to get her attention. But when Osuzu smiles and gives him the side eye, Frank is all in. They start vibing, and their convo gets lit. They're low, key deep, and they're not afraid to be real with each other. It's like they found this secret garden of bliss or something. Guys, time flies, and before you know it, the parting moment comes. Frank is all, I'll be back, and he takes off feeling that good energy. Osuzu is hella happy, and she's getting rocked to sleep by them bamboo branches in the wind. Frank tells his dad, Chiyotaro, about Osuzu, and he's like, she's the one. But Chiyotaro is all, hold up, kid, because this is a big deal. He can't just let Frank marry some random bird. It's got to be the right fit. But then Chayotaro sees how much his son loves Osuzu, and he's like, you know what? If she's real, I'm down, Doc. Even before they found out about her fam and that she's a famous sparrow, Chayotaro was all in on Frank's happiness. He just wants his son to be happy, you feel. A day or two goes by, and everyone gets the lowdown from the wise ones. The family is good with it, so they send over an envoy with a marriage proposal. Osuzu's fam is like, okay, let's do this. And next thing you know, they're fixing up that wedding, and Frank and Osuzu are ready to ride off into the sunset. Frank was low, key hella excited, when his squad brought him gifts to cop his new pad and make it lit. Like sparrows from all around were trying to outdo each other with their fire offerings, making the spot straight fire. Just before Frank's big day, Osuzu was over the moon for the rare gifts Tekiotro sent her way, a obi of dewdrops that held the tea on the sun's secrets ahead, dress made from mountain flowers, and tiny moss sandals. Soft they were goals. She rocked them all at once, 'cause she was low-key obsessed. Osuzu's parents weren't left out either. They sent Skiotaro a sick grand robe of ceremony woven with peach blossom vibes, plus sake and fruit that was straight up on point. The morning of the wedding arrived, and by the time the sun hit Fusey, Yama at peak glory, the Sparrow squad was hella busy getting ready for the day's festivities. Before long, the whole area was turnout, with copse, hedgerow, and woodland all bringing their A-game. It was never seen before how many sparrows were in one spot. Tsukiotaro was a total vibe check, and Osuzu's beauty had spread like wildfire. When they arrived at the new crib, Frank and Osuzu sipped on 3 cups of rice wine to seal their union, and then they all turned up and drank to their health and happiness. The party went down till late evening, and even after the sun dipped below the horizon, the sparrows were still hella loud. As the moon came out with its squad, the vibes died down, and it was just chillin' in silence. Frank and Osuzu lived happy ever after as a sparrow couple raising kids who were straight fire like themselves, and never looking back on their love. Frank's fam is vibbin' on some basic snacks, right? So Inari, the goddess, keeps it real for those who are low, key kind to her. Meanwhile, those Ninko foxes are hating on her life. In Izumo country, there were some hunters who were low-key obsessed with getting that white fox's blood. Like, they almost took her down a few times, but she was like, nah, I'm good. She was just chillin' in the woods with her fox squad when 2 dudes spotted her. They were hella fast and had dogs on a leash, so off ran that fox, right? Instead of going for the open field, she went straight to Inari Temple, 'cause she knew it'd be a safe spot. Yashkima, this young prince from Abe's family, was inside meditating deep. The white fox came through and took refuge under his robe. Yashkima was all about that pity life and tried to calm her down. He's like, got you, little one, no need to stress. She didn't look up at him, but Yashkima knew she understood. The prince went to the temple door when these 2 dudes came up on him. They were trying to get info about that white fox, but Yashkima played it cool and said he hadn't seen her. Then they saw a white tail peeking out from under his robe, so they got all salty. But Yashkima held firm and refused to back down. Those dudes attacked him for real, and he had to defend himself. His dad came through at that moment, but one of the dudes landed a fatal blow and took him out. Yashma was shook, and those dudes went down with 2 swift strokes from his sword. Losing his pops made Yashima super emotional. but he didn't let it get in the way of his vibe. He heard this sick song while he re-entered the temple, and a beautiful maiden greeted him. She saw how he was struggling and asked what was wrong. Yaskima spilled the tea about the white fox, the hunters, and his dad's passing. The maiden's words were all like honey and rainbows to his ears, and she told him some real talk that soothed his soul. Frank was low-key smitten. He genuinely believed her heart was hella pure and beautiful, like her face. He asked her to be his ride or die, and she was all, I already got a vibe for you. I feel you're good and brave, and I'd have your back no matter what. They got hitched. Yashma was over the moon, but he never forgot his pop's passing. Now he had this fire wife who was low-key given to him after his dad died. For a hot minute they were living their best lives together. The days went by so fast. Yaskima was a total boss ruler, and his squad princess was always on his side. Every morning they'd hit up the temple to give props to the good god Inari for bringing them that extra joy in their lives. Then, out of nowhere, their little dude Saime was born, and they were all about naming him after some legendary prince dude. But like Princess became hella troubled one day. She sat alone for hours. Tears kept springing up when Yaskima asked her what's good. One day she took his hand, looked him dead in the eye, and went, "Oh, life has been straight fire. I gave you a son to ride or die with forever. The god Inari now says I gotta roll out of your life." She was all, "I'm that Snow, a white fox who you saved from those Huns outside the temple's gates. You're like my Ogre protector." Yaskima and Saime were low-key living large in the province of the gods for ages, but the Snow White Fox, she was ghosted fam. Nedzumi lived in this sick farmstead with her ratty squad who were always on the move because they had to keep it moving. But these two rats were all, "Nah, we good. Our spot's got some serious protection vibes from Fukuruku Jin, one of the 7 happiest gods and the patron of long life." They had a whole crew of little ratty kids who were always out getting that knowledge and learning. The struggle. When summer rolled around, they'd take their youngins into the rice fields, where they could play under the shade of stalks, learning all about the rat life. After work, they'd scam, chill with their peeps, till it was time to get back home. Nedzumi was the real MVP. She was a gorgeous little creature with silvery skin, bright eyes, tiny ears, and pearly whites. Her parents were all, "Nedzumi's got game, but no one's going to be worthy of marrying our queen." But after weighing it out, they decided to go big or go home. The most powerful being in the universe had to step up. They asked their neighbor for advice, and he was all, "You got to ask the sun to marry your daughter, 'cause his powers got no bounds." They Loki flew through the skies no one could even imagine. The sun gave them all the tea and listened like a good friend as they said, "We were to give you our homie Frank's daughter to be his ride or die." He smiled and was like, "Your daughter is indeed fire, and I'm hyped you came so far to offer her to me. But tell me, why did you choose me out of all the world?" The rats were like, "We would 100 marry our Nedzumi to the most turnt being in the world, and you're the only one with that juice." Then the sun was all, "Truly my kingdom is lit, but sometimes when I'm trying to shine bright, a cloud comes through and covers me up. I gotta roll with someone who can keep it real for me." In no way did they get salty. The rats left the sun and came to a cloud as he was chillin' after a sick flight. The cloud was all, "You're Loki mistaken if you think I'm the most powerful being. I mean, I sometimes hide the sun, but I'm not even to be played with. When the wind comes through, I get ghosted. A little shook up. The rats were still on a mission for their daughter's future, so they waylaid the wind as he was Loki sweeping through a pine forest. He was about to wake up the whole scene, and the two anxious parents were like, "Hey, we need to talk to you about our girl's future." This was the tea from the wind. It's true, I've got some sauce, but I'm not even to be messed with when it comes to that wall. You gotta go to him if you want to get the most powerful being in the world for your son in low cap. The rats were still trying to make it happen. And so they came to the wall and told their story. The wall was like, "True, I can take on the wind, but that rat is always poking holes through my heart. You gotta go to him if you want to make this work." And now the parent rats were back in the farmstead, Loki stressing about their daughter's future. The Nedzumi, their gorgeous daughter with the silky coat and sparkling eyes, was all about it when she heard she was marrying one of her own people, because her heart had already been given to a playfellow from the rice fields. They got hitched and lived hella happy for many years as king and queen of the rat world. Frank just chillin' with his kitty by his side when he's low-key saying, "Nothing's going to break us, old friend." Oh, who is a happy girl livin'. In the middle of them plum groves, and her main pet is this little cat Coma. She's hella fly. Her mistress is always vibbin' with her. Coma's got them winning moves on lock, eaten so daintily she makes, oh, you wanna squeal, licking her rose red nose like it's nobody's business. That's when, oh, you'm's all. Coma, you're a good kitty. I'm low-key obsessed with you, and I know my ancestors were crying when Lord Buddha passed on. So Gon and Coma meet, and they're hella into each other. Gon is straight fire, but he don't even notice the other cats in the area. Trying to get his attention, only Coma gets his goat. When he sees her, it's like his heart skips a beat. The cats are salty cause neither their music, master nor oh. You wanna let go of Coma, Gon's master is all, "Hey, can I take Coma?" But Ohm's like, "Nah, bruh." It was the 7th night of the 7th moon. That's when lovers come to life in the land of great peace, and Kingen crosses the silver river of heaven while Shakujo is getting it in with him. Gon and Coma take flight, leaving their homes behind. It's a sick moon night, and they're low, key high, key excited as they cruise through them rice fields and wide open plains. When day breaks, they're chillin' round this palace that's straight fire old trees, ponds with lotus blooms, the whole nine. Coma's all. Ooh, we should live in this palace. It'd be hella lit. As she's saying that, some savage dog sees them and comes after them like a boss. Coma freaks out, jumps up a cherry tree, but Gon just stays chill. Oh, don't worry about me. I got you. But the dog is hella powerful, trying to take Gon down. He's almost on him when some serving man shows up and saves his life, carries him into the palace. Poor little Coma is left to vibe alone, missing her boo, something fierce. Then the princess finds out about Gon, and she's all over him like white on rice. It takes a while for them to be allowed to be together, but eventually Gon's hella determined to find his girl. He hunts far and wide, but all in vain. He's low-key heartbroken. Now the princess is living her best life, got the whole kingdom in the palm of her hand, except she got this mangy snake trying to get close to her at all times. There's a constant guard keeping her safe, but sometimes Snake still manages to sneak into her chamber. It's like super frustrating for the princess. One afternoon, she's just vibbing, playing soft tunes while the snake is trying to slither in Frank was low key chillin' on the koto when a snake slid up all unnoticed past the guards and hit his girl's room. Next thing you know, Gon is like a boss, taken down the snake so hard it's dead as a doornail. The princess hears the noise and looks around, and she's hella moved that Gon put himself in harm's way for her. She gives him some props, too, feeding him only the flyest morsels in the palace, but there was one cloud over his happiness, the loss of Coma. One summer day, Gon is just vibbin' by the palace door when he's half asleep looking out at the world. He starts dreaming about that one night he and Coma made a break for it from their old homes. Then he sees this little kitten getting harassed in the park by some big cat who's low, Kibin, a monster. Gon jumps into action, chasing the bad cat away. When the dust settles, he turns to the little one and asks if she's good. That's when Coma shows up. Not the Coma from before, 'cause she's all thin and sad, but her eyes are shinning like they're lit when she sees Gon is there to save her. The two cats head over to the princess and spill their story about how they fell in love, got separated, and then found each other again. The princess is all about it, too, 'cause Frank and Coma are clearly meant to be. They get hitched on the 7th night of the 7th moon, and Frank's still reppin' for his girl even after death. The princess looks out for them, and they live their best lives. Years go by, but one day she finds them snuggled up together like they're still in the same spot. It turns out those two faithful hearts just kept on beating until the very end. The princess looks out for them, and they live their best lives. Years go by, but one day she finds them snuggled up together like they're still in the same spot. It turns out those two faithful hearts just kept on beating until the very end.